Hi there, and welcome to this week's episode of Delivered. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm Athena Estelle, and I am your host. On this week's episode, I am super excited to have one of my girlfriends on the show. Her name is Erin. And when we met, she was the director of social services at one of the communities that I was a PT at. We became instant friends. She's super chill, easy to talk to. She is also a COVID baby mom, first time mom during COVID. So we are just going to dive right in. So welcome,
Hey,
Erin.
yay, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. This is a long time
It
coming.
really
We've been
is.
talking about this.
I know. This is so cool. And I've been following it and listening to episodes. So this is so cool what you're doing. So,
Oh, thanks, girl. I'm glad you're part of it.
yeah. Really cool.
Yeah. So go ahead, introduce yourself to the listeners as much as you'd like to share just about yourself, where you're working now, and then we'll dive into your pregnancy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Erin. I am a team lead in case management at Mayo Clinic. So that's where I've been for the last 8 years. So I work with like challenging discharges and hard patients and a resource. But then I am married to my husband, Luke. We have been married for 7 years together, 10. And we have a 4.5-year-old whose name is Jack.
That's awesome. And Jack was born right before Cece.
He was, yeah. We were the same, just like stepping stones. Yes, he was born in April. So, yeah, you were right behind me.
So tell
Absolutely.
the listeners just how pregnancy was for you during COVID,
Yeah.
and then go ahead into your water breaking and just kind of how your world totally started to shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate to look back at it because when I look back at the pregnancy piece, I'm like, oh my God, it was such an easy pregnancy. Everything was great. And then I was like, yeah, because what was coming. But no, it was honestly like Luke and I decided after our 1 year anniversary that we did want kids. And it was like, okay. And then got immediately pregnant. There was no issues. Everything was just kind of how we planned, like on a story almost. And pregnancy was fine, no issues, no concerns. Everything was going smoothly until April 15th when my water broke at 33 weeks and 2 days.
Mm.
So, but
And what was that like?
it was honestly weird at first. So I can remember laying in bed and I was laying there and I was like, why? Every now and then I'd feel like this tiny little puddle. And I was like, that is so weird. And then, I did what everybody thinks. I was like, am I peeing myself? And I'm like, well, maybe he could be laying on my bladder. I don't know. And so I was like, that's probably it. Went to the bathroom, laid back down, and it happened 2 more times. And so then I do what everybody does, get on Google. I'm like, if your water breaks, what does it look like? What does it smell like? All these things would be like, is that really what's happening? And it didn't. And none of those things that Google told me was kind of what was happening. So I kept going back to bed. And then at 7, when my alarm went off for work, we were working at home because we got sent home in March from Mayo for COVID. So I was at home, thank goodness. But something is off. But it wasn't alarming at all. So the OBGYN just said, hey, look, it's probably nothing, but just come up to the emergency room. I'm here. I'm about to go, into work. I'll just check you out really quick. And I told Luke, I said, hey, it's no big deal. You can't go with me anyway because it's COVID. So I'll be right back home. I just got to tell my boss I'll be late and then we'll see how it goes. Famous last words.
Right?
Yeah.
So then they admitted you from there?
Well, yeah. So then I left, and it's funny because I have to give a shout out to my old boss, Michelle Owens, because she's a massive part of my delivery story. But I left the house. I had to call her to say, hey, I'm going to be late for work. But, I'll let you know what's going on. She's like, you cannot hang up with me. I just want to make sure you get there. Just like a movie, I get to the red light and my gas light is on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to go get gas. So I go get gas. And I remember that I got $6.46 because as I was on the phone with Michelle, it was water just went gushing everywhere, like underneath the gas pump, all through my clothes. I'm like, oh, it's real. Holy cow. And I just stopped pumping. I got chill bumps but I stopped pumping gas and talked to Michelle the whole way because she was like, I'm not hanging up with you. Got to Beach's parking lot and they had these white circus tents everywhere. You could only go in one way. Had no clue where to go. But the whole time I was driving, there was just water. Just every time it was just like gushing out like crazy. So finally got into the emergency room, which was a feat because of COVID, and they didn't know why I was there, what's going on. And they immediately hooked me up to an IV, and they said, oh, you're in labor, and do you not feel those contractions? I was like, absolutely not. And I was like, okay, so what does this mean? And they said, well, we're going to start some IVs, but you cannot deliver here because we don't have a NICU. So I was like, okay. And I was like, so that means I'm going to Baptist South? And they're like, oh, no, their NICU starts at 36 weeks and you're 33 weeks in 2 days. You have to go downtown. So,
Mm.
yeah, and I remember I had to call Luke, and then he was in a complete panic. He had to then get the dogs, get to my mom's house, do the whole thing. And the funny part about the case manager in me, I can vividly remember when they told me because they had started the IV, that I was going to have to go by ambulance to Baptist downtown. And I was like, I'm not going anywhere till the doctor signs that medical necessity form because I'm not paying for this transport. So the
Mhm.
case manager came. I was
Mhm.
like, once you sign that form, then we'll talk.
Yeah. Good girl.
Yes, yes, and then we get there, and all I want is to see Luke, and he went to the wrong hospital. I told him Baptist.
Stop.
He did. I told him like, "Hey, I'm going to Baptist downtown, and this is what's happening." I drop him a pin, and we get there, and I was like, "Where is he?" And they're like, "Who is he?" And I'm like, "My husband." They're like, "We don't know." And I call him, and he's like, "Wait, you're at Baptist?" I was like, "I told you." Well, he was at UF Health, so
Aw,
but then he had to
buddy.
come
He was
back, and he
so
eventually he
stressed.
eventually got to me.
Aw. He was probably so stressed
Oh,
out.
yeah,
Oh.
he couldn't even, like I mean, I couldn't either. I had no idea, and the crazy thing because it was COVID, it was not normal. I called my mom, and my mom was like, "Oh, my," she couldn't come there. I called my dad, he
Mhm.
was like, "I'll drive down." I was like, "You can, but you can't see," and then, it was just it was crazy, but so, yeah, I don't know, it wouldn't change anything if they could have been right there. I still would have ended up downtown, but as soon as I got to Baptist downtown, it was amazing. I was hooked up to the IV still and water and kinda, like, in a state of shock, like, not really knowing what's going on, and the first person I met was a neonatologist, and he came in and he noticed my husband's fishing shirt. They're over there talking about their boats, and he said he lost his in Puerto Rico for a hurricane. I mean, they're talking a solid 5 minutes, and I'm over here having a straight panic attack, hooked up to machines. What? And I literally was about like the Alabama was him, like, "Somebody help me," and he just looked at
Uh-huh.
me, and he was like, "You're fine." He was like, "I'm not delivering you till Monday." He was like, "I'm not doing it till 34 weeks, so you're not gonna deliver today, just chill." What?
So you didn't
So
deliver?
I was like, "What do you mean?" Like my whole face, I'm like, "Wait, I've already told my whole family because it was April 15th that I'm gonna have a baby on tax day." I was like, "This is not a fun birthday." What in the world? He's like, "No, you're not delivering." He's like, "That IV that I've got you hooked up to is magnesium." Can't remember the whole thing, but he was basically, he's like, "That's to stop your contractions." And I was like, "Okay." So I'm going to give you 48 hours on that. So I can at least try to give you 2 rounds of shots to speed up Jack's lungs to develop really, really quickly. Cause he was like, babies that are born at 34 weeks have a much better chance of not having breathing issues if you get to 34. And I was like, okay, oh, okay. And he was like, "Oh, but there is one thing I forgot to tell you about the IV magnesium." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "For the next however long you're hooked up to it, you're going to ride what's called the mag wave." I was like, "What is a mag wave?" He's like, every 30 minutes, you're going to experience every symptom of the flu, then it'll go away. And it was. So every 30 minutes, I would get nausea, vomit, fever, chills, ache, and like want to die. And then it would pass on. So that's another.
For 2 days?
It was almost 2. It was a full 24 because I had to get this shot, and then the next day was like, oh my, I just felt so awful. It was, and you just lay there and you've got a bag because you think you're gonna get sick, and you can't wear anything because every time I would move or Jack would move, there was just water. Ugh. But
So you still had fluid inside you, like, with him for those 2 days, or your water was
so my
gone?
water didn't completely deplete, but this is also the other
Okay.
crazy thing about how advanced and how everything worked where I'm freaking out and my husband's freaking out, but they just knew exactly what they were doing. So the 2 days of getting his lungs developed and the magnesium, thank God my body responded to it because I do have some mom friends that their bodies didn't and they couldn't stop the labor and their babies were still born very early. So it
Mm.
did, but there was the sweetest soul who came into my room every morning and every evening, and they called it like a reverse catheter, and she would fill my belly back up with water to give Jack something. Yep. And then every day and then every night. And then it was funny because like if he rolled or moved and came off like the hole, more water. But yeah, so then you could only wear a shirt and this lady would come and fill my belly up.
Oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, yeah. So and then
I didn't even know
oh
that.
yeah, and then they would do the ultra. They would make sure, and they're like, he's good, like he's got plenty of water, and that's what she did twice a day. And then after the magnesium was finished, they were basically like, you're here for the next 5 days, so get comfortable, but not on any medications or anything, just stuck. So Luke and I ordered BBs and watched movies and had a cooler and just were basically had a 5 day stay in Baptist downtown of just not being able to leave.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
So he could stay with you that entire time,
Yes,
right?
he could be with me then
Okay.
because then that Monday, which was Jack's new birthday, new due date, which is now April 20th of
Mm-hmm.
2020, they started me on Pitocin. And so,
Mm,
yes, and so that was horrible because so the Pitocin in the initial, when the contraction started, wasn't that bad because I knew I wanted an epidural. And about 11 or 12, I wasn't progressing. And so they were doing you flip, flop, flip, flop. At about 2, I just started crying in excruciating pain. I'm like, Luke, something hurts. I'm dying. This is not right. And I've never been in that much pain. And it about 30 minutes of me crying in pain and them coming and checking my epidural, and I'm hitting the button and hitting the button, and I'm like, it's not getting any better. Something's bad. Luke finally asked the anesthesiologist, he's like, do you think it came out and my epidural had come out because of how aggressively they had been pushing me? And the doctor was like, well, you're at 8 centimeters, so we can do one of two things. We can try and put it back in, or we can just go natural. And I mean, I just remember like, I mean, I don't even know what I thought, but I was like, "No, I want it back in." She's like, "You have to be very still." And I was just looking at them like, "Y'all better be very careful." Like, "What?"
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we put the epidural back in, and after it
Mm.
fell out, got it back in, and then I wish this would have happened just because it'd been a cooler part of the story, but he almost was born at 4:20 PM on 4/20 of 2020. But when they decided to let me push, they had to wait for the entire NICU team to be there. So all the respiratory therapists and the nurses and the doctors, because they didn't know
Mm-hmm.
how bad it would be. So he was born at 4:23.
Dang
I know. And I was like, oh my God, you ought to just let me.
it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Now, how long was he in the NICU
he was in the NICU
after
for
birthday?
21 days. And so as soon as he was born, they immediately took him to the NICU. And I got to hold him for a second, but that was it. So he was immediately down there and they had the NICU split as to A and B. So he was in NICU B and saw him. And at that point in time, both Luke and I could be in the hospital, but in the postpartum, the delivery rooms, but we still could not be together at all in the NICU. So if I was in the waiting room, he would be back and vice versa. So we were constantly like texting and sending pictures to each other. But then when I was discharged as a patient, that's when it all changed. And they're like, absolutely not. There's only one parent allowed. So if he's there, it was so strict, I could not be there. And it was 21 days of not seeing each other hold him. And the NICU was very intense. And so I think that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of where a lot of it started because I had no time to heal because at that point I'd given birth 48 hours ago. And now I'm in the mode of, okay, when I'm at home, I have to wake up, shower, get dressed, go to the hospital, see Jack, do all this stuff, then come back home, pump, shower, do it all over again the next
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm. So would you drive to the hospital together and one of you just wait in the car and then like flip flop?
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah, and so he would
sad.
go to work, and so then I would be up there all day, and then yeah, and so we just were but we could never be there, and it was really hard because so he was born at 34 weeks, and I learned a lot. So their skin does not get firm until 36 weeks or like 37 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a new mom. I have no idea what I'm doing, and they're just trying to teach me about diapers, and there's cords everywhere. There's monitors. He had a feeding tube. He couldn't control his body temperature, blood sugars, and thank God he didn't have oxygen. But it's already hard enough. But his skin would just peel off, and so he
Oh.
had these big, huge holes in his bottom, and so he had to get wound care. And then he had to get all this packing because his skin was translucent. And then
Mhm.
they don't learn how to suck, swallow, and breathe in the mom's stomach until they're 36 weeks old. So the doctor had told me that it's kind of like trying to get a 5-year-old into Harvard. Like all the stuff we're trying to get him to do with the bottle, he doesn't even know how to do it. So you would have to sit cross legged and you would hold him on his side, and you would tilt
Mhm.
the bottle in his mouth just a little bit and let it fill up in his cheek. And then you'd put the bottle down and you'd kind of give him a second, and then you'd slowly tilt him up. And so we had to do that. Yeah, that was, and it was, and they have feeding goals you have to hit to be able to go home. But yeah, like when he had no clue how to swallow and breathe, no, you can't do a regular diaper, all that.
Mhm.
And you're by yourself. You just had a baby, your first baby, no husband, no anybody. You're just stuck in these walls at
Oh
the
my gosh,
NICU.
I can't even fathom.
Mhm.
Okay, so I thought of 2 things. When you guys checked him out of the NICU, like discharge
Mhm.
day, could you both go to that
Nope.
together? Or did you check him out and Luke was at the
So
car?
actually, they let him go home on Mother's Day. So it was my very first Mother's Day. It
Oh.
was May 10th. They let him get out a day early. But yeah, no, so what happened is I stayed in the truck and Luke went up there and he got him. And then he brought him down and I was already in the backseat of the truck ready. And then we got home. And of course, my mom and my stepdad are there. And then Luke got him out of the carrier. And yeah, that was the first time I ever saw him hold him. And it was 21 days later. So he was almost a whole month old.
That's making me, like, well up with tears,
Yeah, it
though.
was great, and even when he discharged, like, we were still having to do the side where in the
Mhm.
cheek, and we had to do that because we had to do PT, we had to do OT. We had to do all the things while we were there, and then we had to do outpatient, and he got cleared pretty quickly, but we were not able to sit him up to do all the normal, like, feeding and burping and all of that until he was cleared by PT that he was actually okay and could be set up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Man, that is
I
oof.
know, it
I mean, Nick was intense on its own, and then I
was
feel like you
awful.
add COVID, and it's just like
Yeah, and there was
I
nobody there, and I
Mhm.
don't know, it was just so bizarre, but I have to tell you that I mean, even from the time that I was a patient until Jack went home, they are absolutely amazing. Like, I think
Like angels,
oh,
right?
it's I mean, just absolute angels, yeah, and when they're explaining it to you, it just was like, "Oh, it makes, so much sense." And then you get the night nurses that were like, there was this one night nurse in particular. She was like, I'm going to get him home. She was like, but you have to not spend the night. She's like, you cannot be here. She's like, for me to be able to get him to hit his feeding goals, she's like, he will feed off of your anxiety and your stress. So she's like, at 7 o'clock when I get here, if you're still here, I'm sending you home. You have to go home. And I remember crying the whole way home. I just left out. And she was it. She helped us to get our goals. So I think he may have been there longer. I don't know.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, those people are just like a special breed.
Ugh.
A true special breed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you posted a couple different posts of, like, you having reflective thoughts sitting in the parking garage, and I remember,
Oh,
like,
the
reading through them.
yes,
You were
yes.
pregnant and, like, sobbing,
Yes,
and
there
Chris
was
would
this
come home and be like
guy that had, I could see his from Jack's window, you could look up to the top of the parking garage, and every single day he would go and he'd pull his car up and he would make this massive heart. So I knew that it was for somebody there. Like, it was so cool. And he would sit there and he had his little fold out chair and he would read, but he made this massive heart up on the parking garage for his loved one to see that, but we all and I actually turned that in because I just thought it was so cool and I loved it. It was something I look forward to every day to seeing it. So I submitted it just to my like Instagram or whatever, and somebody saw it and Jack was actually picked to be a Wolfson Warrior because of that story. So yeah, he was the class of 2021. He was a little Wolfson Warrior. So he got to go get his picture made. He was in all the NICU like websites. We got to do this big he got a medal and they got to celebrate him. It was the coolest thing. And they picked, I believe 22. He was like one of 22 and he got so that was
Oh.
kind of cool because it almost felt like a graduation or I don't know. But
Mhm.
yeah. So he
Mhm.
is a little warrior. He's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading that and, like,
Oh
sobbing, and
yeah.
Chris was just like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I just have to read it to you."
Wait, did you and when you went in, did you have to deliver with a mask? Did you?
No, they just I think I was, like, right after that.
Oh, see, I didn't
So
have
we
to
were
either.
we
So
were
new.
masked in the hallway, like,
Well,
'cause
yeah, oh yeah.
I walked
Mhm.
until I couldn't, like until the pain was too bad. So we were in the hallway hoofing it in masks, and I
Gotcha.
remember the nurses at the nurses station like, "Why don't you just, like, go to your room and relax?" And I was like, "No," because at that point, I was still hell bent on trying to be as natural as possible,
Yeah.
but I was induced. So
Um,
similar to you, I
yeah.
got the Pitocin,
Oh, and I just thought
and
too
then
about the mommy recommendation too. So I know that
yeah.
they're super expensive, and I was the same one that was like, absolutely not. I would never pay for that amount of for a car seat. Trust me, I shop on Amazon. But our friends they had just had a child, and they're like, you really need to get the Nuna car seat. I'm like, absolutely not. It's so much money. But before Jack could come home, he had to have the car seat test, and they put him in there. You have to stay for 2 hours and do all of your O2 sats. Most normal Graco and what you would just go and buy, they start at 6 pounds. And so our doctor was like, oh, you're probably going to have to go buy a new car seat because standard weight for a newborn is 6 and they start from 6 up. Well, Jack was born at 4 pounds. So I'm like, oh my God, we just spent all this money on a Nuna. Now I got to go buy another. So I didn't want to do it. But Nunas start at 4. So just something you never think you're going to have a preemie. I know that nobody ever does, but it was just so like, okay, one thing we're like, okay, at least he's 4 pounds and he's going to be safe in this car seat.
Right. Oh, that's a great,
Now
no,
think
that's a good
about it.
recommendation. I'll throw a link out for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you could probably find different ones, but I know that that's something that they had prided themselves on, that they started for. In
Hmm.
hindsight, would have never known, but now that I've lived it, I'm like, oh, so sweet. Thank
No.
you.
Yeah, that's great insight.
Yeah.
Now, now tell us about you. So he comes home from the NICU,
Hmm.
you're home
Yep.
with him,
Hmm.
adjusting to life. When did you start struggling and how did that present to you and
Yeah.
to Luke?
So I would say immediate when we get home, because when we get home, there's no more monitors. And so that was terrifying because I was used to watching the monitor to see what his heart rate was, how he was breathing, like what's so I didn't have the monitors. I didn't have the nurses to make sure that I was doing the feeds right. And we were on a every 2 hour schedule. At that time, I was having to supplement breast milk. They told me, no, hey, you're going to have to add. I would say about 3 weeks of him being home, I was like, this is entirely too much because I felt like I was trying to figure out how to be a mom and a NICU nurse and all these crazy, crazy types of things. And so I think if you added COVID, a preemie baby, a new mom, and that I knew immediately, and it may too be the background of being a social worker in grad school. You learn about kind of things. I think that might have been a lot of my intuition, like looking inside, I'm like something is not right. And it's quickly spiraled because then every single night when it would get dark, I would just cry for hours because I was like, I'm going to be the only one awake. Everybody's going to bed. Yeah. Oh, I could just remember being absolutely miserable.
Hmm.
Miserable. And it was right about the 8 week checkup. Two things happened. When I went to my 6 week checkup with the OB, because I had to go with a completely new delivery team because of him being high risk. As soon as I went in there, I told my OB, I was like, something's not right. I know for a fact it's not right. And I'm chemically imbalanced, but all these kinds of things. And she was like, okay, well, let's just start Zoloft. We'll do it's the most generic, it's the most easy, and it's kind of like this. It's what most people can start on just to get your chemicals back. I said, okay, that's great. And then at Jack's 8 week checkup, I went in there. I told him, I was like, I can't do this anymore. This feeding. And because he was throwing up after every feed. So he would feed, he'd throw up everywhere. And that's when the pediatrician was like, look, you could either get all of the lactose out of your diet, strip it down to make it just straight bare and still breastfeed, or she was like, you could, it's really expensive, but there is a formula out there that is lactose free. Try that,
Hmm.
see if maybe that's one of his issues because preemie baby's stomach don't develop. So his stomach isn't where a normal baby would be, or his throat. And then after that, I got home. We did the expensive formula and it changed him completely. So I was like, oh, I'll get better. He can eat now. He's not throwing up. But I didn't get that. He
Hmm.
got better eating, but I was still completely off. So that's sort of when my brain went, it's not baby blues, you
Hmm.
know? No,
Yeah.
no.
It's just crazy how I feel like there's so many adjustments in motherhood. People act like it's like you bring the baby home and you just kind of figure it out. And I just, for
No.
those moms that have that experience,
Yeah,
congratulations.
congrats. Because,
Yeah, like I think you're a part of a very small group,
yes.
but I feel like the COVID moms, and obviously I'm biased because I lived it, but that was
Yeah,
hard. Like, excuse my French, but
it was.
it was
And
bizarre.
there was
It was
nowhere to go.
bizarre.
Like I would, just as insane
Hmm.
when I look back, it was a year
Hmm.
and 3 months until I went to a Publix because I had and not because it's like COVID, and then I had a premature baby whose lungs hadn't
Yes.
developed. And I was like, you've lost your mind, and then you get so shut in,
Yep.
you have nothing. You're just like stuck. Yeah, the COVID piece, and it's all like
Mm-hmm.
And then I also too,
Well,
I don't know if it, and you may, I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's like the COVID and the postpartum. When I see those moms, like you said, they're like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, like we brought him home. We're great. We can't wait to have another." What? Like I brought him home and was like, "I need all of the antidepressants. I need Jesus. I need something." And I'm not ever. No, I don't. This is awful. This is like. Why would y'all do this? So
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know.
Well, and tell me how it was for Jack, because I remember around the time when I had to start supplementing with
Hmm.
formula because my milk was changing
Hmm.
because of all the anxiety, there was a formula shortage.
Yep. And so the formula shortage, it did affect us. So we were going, I remember Luke would go to all these public tests, and I can't remember the precise name of this formula, only that,
Was it the Alimentum?
yes, and it smells like Cheez-Its. It's the
Yes.
Cheez-It milk. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And it smells just
So
so, oh, it's
expensive.
so expensive.
Dear
Yes,
God.
that's
It's
exactly what
so
it is.
expensive.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And so he would go everywhere. Then we're like, okay, we found it on Amazon. Well, then Amazon got depleted. And so it was just constant anxiety of trying to figure out because it actually did work for him. Like he did really well in that
Mm-hmm.
one and trying to find it. It was like one thing after
Mm-hmm.
oh, the other piece too is that maternity leave is 3 months, right? So you're my employer paid for 6 weeks and I had 6 weeks of PTO. Well, I spent a whole month in the NICU. So it's like, wait a minute, I'm only going to be home with him for 2 months and I got to go back. This is not fair. And so that was another thing. So I actually was out for 4 months, but that whole last month I was home with him was completely unpaid.
Isn't that crazy in
Hmm.
America? Like that's a whole
Oh
other.
yeah, but my boss, I mean, she tried. She did really did. She looked into all different ways of extending it because it
Mm-hmm.
being premium, him being premium because of COVID and of that. And they were just like, no, but she can stay out another month. She'll still have her job. We just can't pay her.
Yeah, I mean, still,
Right.
I would take
Oh, I
it.
did. I was like,
I'd be
okay,
like,
well,
I
guess
don't
what?
care.
Guess what? We're
Yeah,
fine. We're great.
see you
Except
in
for
another
somebody's
month.
got to work to pay for alimony. This dang formula is expensive.
Oh my gosh, crazy. And I will never forget. I have like a vivid memory. I was like in the pit, like barely functioning. And I said to Chris the one day, I was like, I'm just going to go to Target and like get the formula when it's like in the morning. And I remember the formula aisle looked like Armageddon.
Yeah,
There was
there's
like
nothing.
zero,
Nothing.
zero cans. And I just remember I had her with me, like in her little carrier. And I just remember I like set her on the ground and just started sobbing,
Oh,
staring at like an empty aisle of, formula.
shit.
And this cute little old man walks by and he's like, honey, are you all right?
No,
And I
I'm
was like,
not.
no, I'm
How long
not.
did you
And
breast? How long did you end up
ugh.
breastfeeding for?
So I breastfed until she was probably 5 months sole breast. And then I was
Wow.
pumping because, like, when I went back to work. So pumping at
Mhm.
work was its own annoying challenge. I will say, shout out to Orange Park because they do have a pumping room. I'm
Mhm.
sure Mayo
Yep.
does too.
Mhm.
But that was like clutch because I would, go there on my lunch break, like have
Mhm.
a little time and then go back to work, come back. But my milk started changing. So she was probably almost 6 months old, and my milk slowly started to get less thick. It was not like that
Yeah.
pretty ivory
Mhm.
color. It started changing. So I called the OB and they already knew I was kind of struggling and I was still taking the
Yep.
prenatals. I was still taking that just for all the essential things. And I just switched to solely pumping because then Chris could help
Yes.
me because I was at
Yes.
this point, I'm not there enough mentally to like continue this. So I'm strictly pumping, but it's still kind of changing. So I had enough breast milk to get her to 9 months, but I
Wow.
think I started supplementing formula around 7
That's an way to
because I was in the
go.
hospital. Yeah, because I was in the hospital when she was 7 months, and I know Chris was kind of mixing because my breast milk was like
Yeah.
quickly that supply was quickly
I
depleting.
can't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I mean, any mom that breastfeeds, I'm just like, you are amazing because I also think that that was something I was a sign when you were like, hey, did you see any signs? That was also one because
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, I can't. I couldn't do it. Then I was like, and then Luke also like wanted to help, but he's like, how could he help if it's just straight? But I can remember that piece. It was some weird in my brain. I need a minute, and you can't. You don't.
Mhm.
I'm so
Mhm.
proud of you. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really
Well, and
cool.
like my thing is with it is no one could come see me in person.
Mm-mm.
So I had 3 lactation consultants, all virtual. And I feel
Oh,
like it would have
wow.
been so different if someone could have like
Yes.
come to the house and not to sound like a pervert, but like touch my boob and be
So
like,
we
this is
laugh
what you
about it.
have
It's funny that you say pervert because we call them, and this is, I don't mean this baby, Luke, and I just call them vultures because in the NICU, as soon as you
yeah.
have that baby, I am not even lying. I had just had Jack, and there was some woman in there already with my, and I was just like, what? I mean, I was just like, where did you come from? And she's just immediately
Oh
right
yeah.
there, like it's normal. And I mean, they literally just come right out. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I mean,
They
that's
just
where I
honor
learned
you.
so much. Like, that's kind of where I look back on my time in the NICU is that they taught me so much stuff from breast milk to the skin, just all kinds of stuff that I would have never known. I would have been on Dr. Google and had
Mm-mm.
no clue. So I mean, I don't know, you kind of have to look at it like a double-edged sword. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it
It's
really.
crazy. What would you say to new moms? I don't want to say, I mean, advice, yeah,
Mhm.
because you've been through a lot.
Mhm.
So I think the Nuna tip is key. I
Mhm.
mean, that's clutch. And I think the Alimentum,
Yep.
that's a great tip for moms struggling with that. But is there any other things, maybe something that you saw in yourself at the beginning that
Yeah.
maybe you like pushed to the back of your brain,
Mhm.
or just some type of advice for new
Yeah,
moms?
absolutely. And I actually got this advice from another preemie mom. But it goes for preemie moms and term moms. Like this is for everybody. And when she told me that, it was honestly the only way my anxiety subsided. But that developmental stages are crap. They're there for a reason. I get it. Everybody needs to have them. Like, yeah, I get it. That's their milestones and that's how they look at them. But she told me, she was like, because preemies, you can't go by their term day because he was supposed to be here in June. So for Jack, he technically was supposed to be 2 months behind every single child, sitting up, drinking, walking, crawling, everything that every mom's like, oh, yay, my baby did this. And you're like, well, mine's not because he's 2 months behind your child. So he's not going to be there.
Mm.
By the time he gets married, he's going to be walking, crawling, and doing all of the milestones. So
Yeah.
she told me that, and that piece of advice always stuck with me because I would always go to the pediatrician's office, and they would tell me, like, "Oof, he's not doing what he's supposed to." I'm like, "Well, he's also 8 weeks behind a term baby." So
Mm.
that was big, like knowing that the developmental stages and that even term babies get a 2 month leeway. So don't be hard on yourself. They're eventually going to learn how to sit up. They're eventually going to learn how to crawl. They're eventually going to learn how to walk. And it's not a failure if it takes 2 extra months or however long, or if you need therapy to help them PTOT or speech to get to that point. Because her piece of advice that when he goes to college and when he is married, he will be able to walk, crawl, sit, do everything, and that was huge for me
Yeah.
because I think new moms
Yeah.
are harder. So that would be the other piece that developmental milestones. Meh.
That definitely got me. That used to definitely make me more anxious. And those tracker apps where you track like what side you breastfed on, how long they fed
Oh,
for, like da 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 da. That, I mean, I still have an Excel spreadsheet on my
no,
phone
you
that
don't.
girl, I need to delete it. I
Okay,
keep it
no.
because one day I'll be able to look at it, but like
For
just
what?
talking
No,
about it right
absolutely
now,
not. We are
I
deleting
have
it.
like chill bumps of like PTSD because I remember I would be like, but she ate for 24 minutes. Like she has to be full, da 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 da. But I will say this, and a lactation consultant taught me this, but they'll tell you this in the hospital. Time does not
Nope.
matter. It is the suck and the
It,
swallow, period.
it
Like
in that
my
exactly.
sister's kids, oh my God, I remember I would cry to her. Like, I'm so jealous. I don't want to quote it wrong, but I'm pretty sure my nieces ate in like 10 to 12 minutes, like full. And I
Wow.
remember I'd call her sobbing like 40 minutes in, like, this kid is still sucking because she wasn't. And I just never knew.
Oh my god. Yeah. No, we
Yeah.
need the Excel's
So it's
going.
like, oh yeah, it's like, do not feed into those stupid apps.
No,
Do not.
stay away from the
Mm-mm,
mommy blogs. Don't
mm-mm,
do the mommy blogs there. Mm-mm, don't do
mm-mm,
it. Yeah, stay
mm-mm.
away from
Not
that.
helpful.
Nope,
Yep.
absolutely not. And then if you're looking
Yep.
at cool gadgets to buy, do not buy if you're pregnant the home ultrasound. Marissa, that we used to work with together, she told me that because she was like, if you do that, she
Really?
was like, you're gonna be laying around on the couch and be like, whoa, and you don't hear a heartbeat, and you're like, oh gosh, something's wrong. No, because you're not trained, you're not in the right spot. Don't buy it. Don't
That's
do
a great
it.
tip.
Don't do
That's
it.
a great tip
Because you wanna hear the
because
heartbeat all the time. No.
oh,
Yeah,
constant,
no, but
constant.
yeah, mm-mm.
Mhm. I remember, the outlet, the little
Yes!
foot
I
okay,
was told not
I
to buy
wanted
that
one of
too.
those really bad, and Chris was like,
Nope.
"Nope, He goes, it's going to make you
Yep.
neurotic. You're going to be checking it all the time. Like, what's her oxygen? What's her heart rate?
Yes, and do you know what? That's true because when we were leaving the NICU, I'm like, "Oh my God, how am I going to do this? I'm going to be at home. There's no monitors. There's no anything." And she was
Mhm,
like, "Here's a
mhm,
few things. Number one, he's going to be fine, and you are not allowed to have an outlet because it's also something they don't tell you that newborns stop breathing on their own, and it's normal. It is completely normal. They're going to do like a longer
mhm,
extended breath or whatever, and it goes wild. But because it's normal for them, it's not normal for that cool little piece of technology." And she was like, it will alarm every single time. And you're going to think your baby can't breathe. You're going to bring him to the ED and they're going to tell you to go right back home because it's normal. So, yeah, the
mm,
NICU nurses also told me, they're like, do not get that because it'll make you absolutely.
mhm. Yeah. That's a great tip too.
Yeah.
Now, I know Luke was amazing. Same thing as Chris, like
Yeah.
supportive there. I mean, just rock star husband.
Yeah.
What would you say to other either husbands, partners, support person for either a mom that's
Uh-huh.
pregnant or a new mom? I guess practical ways that they can support either how Luke did or something that you've seen in someone else.
Yeah, I think I just kind of, if you were a breastfeeding mom, kind of like we were in the beginning, and there is really not much a dad is. I mean, he can't breastfeed, he can't feed, he can't do those things. What can he do? So Luke named himself, he gave himself the title as the equipment manager. So Luke was the one that was washing, cleaning, and sanitizing all the pumps, all the parts, all the bottles, all the that. So he was literally he was the equipment manager. And he
He
was,
is the best.
yeah, he was constantly using that baby Brizza. He would have it sanitizing and going and going. And so I think that piece was good because then he felt like he was doing as much as he could when you're trying to get it, he can't do the things that I was able to do at that time. So he's not able to breastfeed. So that piece. And then I think the other piece is, even if it's not postpartum depression or if it's just baby blues or what, and you can tell that your partner is anxious, stressed, whatever, instead of being ignoring it or whatever, be like, what can I do? Because I guarantee you there's something little where it's like, can you please just give him a bath? Will you please
Mhm,
just hold him so I can go pee? Just that little ask of like, what can I do was huge because there was always something when Luke would ask it, I'd be like, I just really want to go brush my teeth and sit there for a second and stare at the mirror. Say, what,
mhm,
so I just think having the courage to ask, what can I do?
mhm.
And finding like you said, a practical piece.
Love
If
that.
it's not the equipment manager, maybe some laundry. I don't know. Or maybe if I wash my hair, will you brush it?
Mhm, mhm.
I don't know.
Seriously.
Yeah, there's just
Yeah.
different ways that I think go outside of the baby that just like kind of to look at.
Yeah, and just remembering that, like, at the end of the day, you're still a person yourself.
Mhm.
You need to brush your teeth and be able to take a shower and,
Yes.
like, do just those regular things, and I I don't know, it's like that stupid term that everyone says, like, mom guilt. I mean,
Mhm.
I still fall prey to it today, but
Absolutely.
I know I would feel bad sometimes. "Oh, I don't wanna go take a shower right now," like, I'll wait till later," and he would be like, "Just
Just
go take
go.
a shower,"
Yes, absolutely,
you
and
know?
that's how it, like, that mom guilt piece, yeah, and that you were saying kinda like the healing piece, it wasn't until my current psychiatrist now, as she looked back, she's like, "You didn't even give yourself time to heal from a traumatic delivery. You were literally showering, getting up, and going to the NICU, and then you get home and you wonder why your body's out of whack. Well, I can tell you about 14 reasons." Well, but it would be the same, and I can remember my mom would always tell me stories of her as a new mom, and she was like, "I'd be so happy," and it was a cool goal the days that I actually was able to get a shower. I was like, "That's just
Mm.
so weird," and then when it happened to me, I'm like, "Holy cow, yeah."
You're like, "I get it."
Yeah, because you don't take the time, or if you do have that 14 seconds, and this is I was the world's worst, everybody's like, "Sleep when the baby sleeps." I know, I was on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, because 'cause I'd like to be human for a second.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's so good. Now, is there anything that we either didn't touch on or I don't know, just any other specifics either about your postpartum
Uh-huh.
journey? Let me ask you this. What kind of helped you get over the hump? You're home, you're adjusting, you've started the Zoloft,
Uh-huh.
you're kind of working through things. Were there certain aspects that kind of really helped you peak in that healing, or was it just a combination of the therapy and the Zoloft?
Well, I can tell you that it was not the Zoloft because actually I was only able to take that for 3 weeks because I had one of the really bad
Mm.
side effects. I had really bad vertigo, and so I
Mm.
was completely taken off of it, and so that sort of started me on my now journey, of finding what works, which was I feel like I've taken every medication on demand and, the right therapist, but I honestly think when I finally figured it out, I may be okay. I think we're going to be good. Was going back to work and him being at the daycare that he is because our teacher, who's now our babysitter, family friend, she's just part of the family. When he got there with her and she started working with him, and I knew that he was going to be okay, and then I was back into a normal routine. I wasn't okay, but I knew it was going to be okay, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Kind of like finding that new normal.
yes, I think getting out of the house, I think stay-at-home moms are amazing. I really do because everything that you guys do and those traits I don't have at all. So I'm almost in a sense I envious like as a because I was ready to get back out and get out of that house. And so I think that was
Mhm.
what it was huge.
Yeah, I'm very similar. We have definitely the same personalities in
Hmm.
that aspect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I understand that. Now, let me ask you my favorite question. I save it for
Yeah.
last. So, if you had to describe your pregnancy journey and your postpartum journey with one word, what would you say?
So I would say if I could say my postpartum journey in one word, I would say evolving.
Okay, explain.
So I feel like when I was like, oh yeah, this is easy, like I've got postpartum depression, and then started seeing therapists, and then from the therapist piece, it was like, okay, and it has evolved into some new diagnoses that I didn't know. It's evolved from different forms of medication. And I'm realizing that a lot of the things that I'm still anxious about or that worry me, they all stem, not all, I would say, but a percentage stem from that, from Jack's delivery and Jack's time being at home. So I would say it's
Hmm.
still evolving. I'm still dealing with it doesn't just go away. It just evolves either
Hmm.
into a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder or something, and that you just have to keep continuing to work on it. So I would still say I'm still full blown the same crazy person I was when Jack was home from the NICU. I just have a little bit more tools and a better therapist. So I think it's
Yeah.
just evolving. And I think too, I would say evolving and grace. You got to give yourself grace. Every human.
Hmm. Hmm. I love that.
Yeah. What do you say?
That's
What's yours?
great.
What do you say to people? What's your word?
I've actually never been
Oh,
asked.
I'm
Oh my
asking you, what
gosh.
is your word? How would you
Oh
describe
my
your? Because
gosh.
I know that you and I have spoken a lot, and so I
Hmm.
know a lot about yours. So how would you just? What's yours?
Gosh, Erin, that's hard. I would say transformative.
Ooh.
I think because obviously, I don't know, the whole postpartum depression is so interesting because I vividly remember the one thing that the hospital did maintain before I delivered was they took the hospital tour and the pregnancy class and they did like a hybrid. And it was like a 2 hour thing one night that we went to, masked, all the
Mm-hmm.
things. And I remember sitting there, they talk about postpartum depression. I vividly remember getting in the car, coming home, telling Chris, like, there's no way I would get that. I'm like the happiest person ever.
No,
Like,
you're yeah, yeah,
yeah. I'm like, we don't have to worry about
yeah.
that. So then, everything's happening and
Mm-hmm.
unfolding. And of course, like my world was shattered
Yeah.
and all the, and I just remember when you're in it, you're in the pit. It feels like nothing else is
Mm-mm.
existing. It's just survival. Like
Yes, you're just
there's,
striving to survive, and you're
yeah,
not even really surviving at that point.
no,
You're
you're
just
not. You're
existing.
just,
Yeah.
yes, like fingertips on the ledge, just waiting for the next day, pretty much. So then I also agree with you. I think finding the right meds, the right
Mm-hmm.
counselor, the right psychiatrist, all of that. And then to see just how far I've come. Like, I think if you would have told the girl that was struggling, you're going to come out of
Yeah.
this, you're going to be stronger than you were before and
Absolutely.
have less anxiety, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I like that word. Yeah, because like you said, you're like, oh, I'm so happy, and you are like, you're always like the happy. And I think that's why it's cool too that you're doing that podcast and getting the message out there. It does not discriminate, and it's sometimes the
Mm-mm.
people you least expect, or what, it's just all different. And so, getting it
Yeah.
out there that it's okay. You'll
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
through it, and then you won't strive to survive. You'll just be out here living.
Yeah. And I do think something I want to add, I don't know if I've said this in a past episode, but one of my therapists said this and it will stick with me forever,
Okay.
is that in our human brains, we expect healing to be linear.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna go
Oh
straight up
yeah.
this mountain, everything like we're good, we're
Yeah.
cooking. And then it's like, no, it's not. It's a
It is.
wave. You'll have a
Yes.
good day, you'll have a bad day, a
Yes.
good month, bad month. So it's the whole managing your expectations is so
Mhm,
powerful
mhm.
because I think obviously I went into it saying I'll never get postpartum depression.
I'm good.
Or as someone who's pregnant, I can't tell you how many times I said, I'll never let my kid suck a pacifier after
Uh,
she's one.
uh,
Sucked it till she was 14 months. It's just like
oh, yeah.
until you're living it,
You
like
have
you don't
no
know how you're
no, you
you
have
don't know how you're gonna
absolutely
react.
no.
So it's just I don't know. Healing is not linear. It's
No,
ever changing.
absolutely.
But
That's what I'm saying. Even yeah, now this like she'll say something. I'm like, oh, then that was in 2020, ma'am. It is 2025. She's like, that means nothing. So I think it's just constantly evolving, and you just gotta, you know, accept it
yeah,
and go and do the best you can because at the end of the day, there's not a handbook. And I mean,
yeah.
I'm obsessed with moms. I think they're all amazing. So I love all of them. It's so crazy.
Seriously, we're like super
It is
people. Super
absolutely
animals.
insane. I think about it all the time. I'm like, how in the world? It's just crazy. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It's wild.
I
Yeah,
know.
I love it. Well, thank you so
No,
much for your
thank you
time.
for
You've been
having me.
amazing.
I'm sorry if I ramble, but I get excited. Then I haven't seen you either, too.
Girl.
So I'm like, woo.
No, you're good,
Yeah.
girl. We're in this together. We got all the
I
energy.
know. I know. And then I'm like, good Lord.
Uh, well, thanks for being here. I will link Erin's Instagram if you'd like to reach out to her. I will link all the resources we chatted about. But Erin, thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next week.